What's crackin', Eggheads? This is Ashleigh Bonner, founder of the indie educational video game studio Electric Egghead, and I'm in the 5th month of Thomas Brush's Start a Game Studio in 12 Months challenge. During this month, I'm learning code and I'm learning the basics of C++. So it's day 9, and if you want to join on the fun, go to the hashtag 12 Months Game Studio or go to the Discord link. So, it's February 9th, 2020, which means that it's Black History Month. So I'll be giving you short little snippets of our historical figures who have contributed to our fight for equality and our independence as a community. So, today I'm going to tell you about Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks was born Rosa Louise Macaulay Parks on February 4th, 1913. She was a civil rights activist who refused to surrender her seat to a white passenger on a segregated bus in Montgomery, Alabama. Her defiance sparked the Montgomery bus boycott, and its success launched nationwide efforts to end racial segregation of public facilities. The Montgomery bus boycott, as it came to be known, was a huge success, lasting for 381 days and ending with a Supreme Court ruling declaring segregation on public transit systems to be unconstitutional. Rosa Parks was awarded the Martin Luther King Jr. Award by the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and the Congressional Gold Medal. Here's a quote by Rosa Parks. People always say that I didn't give up my seat because I was tired. But that isn't true. I was not tired physically. No, the only tired I was tired of giving in. And that was said by her in her autobiography. This bio was via biography.com and the quote was via history.com. So that's a little bit about Rosa Parks. And thank you so much, Rosa Parks, for all you did in fighting for our equality, for buses, and other civil rights that we should have. Alright, so let's get into my Visual Studio. Alright, so now that I've done learned the basics of C++ using Mike Dane's tutorial, I'm going to start a real-world application. Real quick, the music you're hearing is by David Fesliyan at fesliyanstudios.com. That's Fesliyan studios.com. And he creates sound effects and other music and takes donations. So head on over there if you want some great sounds and music. Alright, so let's see. So I actually do. Alright, so I've learned the basic syntax, and the basic loops and variables and functions in C++. So the best way with programming to learn the program is to just go ahead and start creating small and simple projects. So now that I've learned those very extreme basics, I'm gonna start my app, your Tricky Words Helper. That's what it's called, and that helps you. Let me show you. Let me go to my GitHub real quick and I'll show you the README. So your Tricky Words Helper is an application that helps you spell those tricky, aggravating, and commonly misspelled words like misspell. And one place that you can run C++ code is at cpp.sh. This video will be just about 30 minutes where I'll be setting everything up and just getting the code started. So one thing that I read online is to just practice a lot and be very repetitive with what I'm doing. So I have your Tricky Words Helper code already that I created about, let me see, about a month ago. So, but I'm not actually going to use this code. I'm just going to rewrite all this code and then optimize it with the things that I've learned, like with functions or maybe with arrays and things like that I learned in Mike Dane's tutorial. So let's get started. I've already copied this code and I put it into a notepad right here. So here's the code, and here I'm just going to save it to my desktop and then to my Create Game Studio folder. So right here, what I have, oh, let me fix that. What I have to keep everything organized, let me just show you real quick. Let me go back. What I have to keep everything organized is, where is it? Let's see. I lost it. Let me see, just a minute. Okay. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay. So, let me just show you my organizational system. So, what I have here is within my Create Game Studio in 12 months YT vid folder, I have a games folder. Well, I have the press kit for my first large game, which is going to be AWOL effects. And that's my display. It keeps moving the mouse. Just a minute. Okay, so then I have audio, code, documents, videos folders, and that's where all these things go. And then I have sound effects, thumbnails, and things like that. So I'm just gonna put in, that's my display. I'm just gonna put this document into the documents folder. So then we have your tricky words, helper, code, 1.9.20, 1.6.20. But I'm just using this so I can just reference it as I go along. So let me close this up. All right, so what I'm gonna do before I actually do all of these things is I am going to look up a way to alphabetize all the words that I have in the list. And I found all of these words online on different websites. I just looked up Google words that people often misspell. So, and again, it's ironic because misspell is one of the words. I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking. But so anyway, I've already started alphabetizing all of these words, you know, just to make it easier for the users. Okay, so, well actually, before I do that, let me pause and show you how this program actually works. So, I'm going to go to online and show you CPP, CPP.sh. Alright, so that's an online compiler for C++, and it works really well, and it has C++ 14, C++ 11. It doesn't have the newest standard, C++ 17, but I assume they'll probably have it at some point. So, I'm just going to paste my code in here, and then I'm going to push run. And it's a simple way that you can test your programs. I mean, I guess, well, I could test it inside Visual Studio. That would work. But I'll just show you this in case you want to do it online, and then I'll show you within Microsoft Visual Studio. Alright, so we have welcome to your tricky words helper. Note all the words may not be in alphabetical order, so I'm gonna just fix that and put them in alphabetical order. Enter your first name. Let's put Jarvis or whatever, and then push enter. Enter a lowercase letter, B, and then so it says Jarvis. Here's your list of tricky words for the letter B. Then you have barbecue, beginning, believe, bellwether, bicycle, broccoli, bureau, business. And then I'm going to add more words to this list. And then it says, would you like to enter another letter? Yes or no? And then you put, you know, yes or no. I'm going to put no. So, and then push enter. And then the program should exit. But it works a little weird in this. See, something is not right with it. It's supposed to give me something else, actually. Let me look at the code. Maybe this code does not work. Let's see. Alright, let's see. Let me go to the end. Press E, then enter. Oh, okay. I didn't get that part. That's weird. Words to be added. Yeah, Z was kind of toughy. I mean, I'm pretty sure we don't need to know how to learn zebra, so. Alright, okay, let me run this code again because it didn't work right. Let me just show you. Let me put Jarvis, enter a letter, H. Jarvis, here are the words, handkerchief, things like that. No, it should say, yes, here it is. Thank you for using Tricky Words Helper. Good luck and happy spelling. Press E, then enter to end tricky. E, enter, and then the program exits with a 0. which is normal program termination. All right, so that's the first draft of the code. But just like a novel or a short story or anything else, you want to have multiple drafts, multiple iterations, get feedback, ask for suggestions, and do lots of testing to make sure it actually works. So that's just the basics of how this little program is going to work. I'm going to try to create it into an Android app and iOS using Microsoft Visual Studio because they have Android and iOS SDKs that you can download within the Microsoft Visual Studio IDE or the Integrated Development Environment. So I already have that downloaded, and mind you, Microsoft Visual Studio is a really big program, so it was like 14 gigabytes. All right, so but well worth, of course, all the space, and my computer can handle it. So, all right, cool. Now that I've shown you how the program works, I'm gonna let you watch me make tons of mistakes and Google stuff and Stack Overflow stuff and everything stuff to figure out how to do it. Alright, so let's get going. Alright, so I have an empty project open called Your Tricky Words Helper. Here it is, Your Tricky Words Helper right there. Then I have a source file, a main.cpp. And that's where you want to start your C++ programs. So how did I get this main.cpp? Because when I first opened this empty C++ project, there was nothing here. So what I did to get this main.cpp was I went to the source files, right-clicked it, and put add new item. And then I'll just show you the process. I clicked this C++ file, left-click, and then I renamed this part main.cpp. And then I pushed add, and then this popped up right there. So you want to make sure to put .cpp at the end of your files, or it's not gonna work. I think if I don't put anything, I think it's gonna default to like maybe a C file or something. But I'm not gonna test it right now. It doesn't really matter. So now I'm gonna add in a header file. So I'm gonna go to the header file, right click, and put add new item. And you want to actually go to the folder so your new item will go within that folder. I mean, I could add a header file from a source file, but usually source files are CPP files and things like that, and header files are different kind of files. So I want to put add new item, and then I want to put header file right here, and then I want to name it, and I do this using declarations.h and add. And see, there it is now, and it opened up right here in my visual editor. Alright, so what do I do here? This is something that I do in my programs. I don't know if it's best practice or what. I'm a beginner, but this is what I do because I think it looks cleaner. Don't follow me. Go look at more experienced programmers' code on like GitHub and maybe like Code Wars, things like that, and see what they do. But this is what I'm going to do for now until I read more people's code. And that's a good suggestion. Read other people's code, because especially if you're a beginner, because you don't know what you're doing, and they do know what they're doing, but you want to make sure also that it's good code. Just because someone codes something doesn't mean it's good code. It could be complete crap. Just because the program works doesn't mean it's coded well. It could be all hacked together. They threw some spaghetti in there. They threw some eggs in there, and then they poured some pop in it. You know, like, you got to be careful. Make sure it's good code. All right, so let me just continue here. So what I do here is I put all my using declarations within a header file. So and that just keeps it the main.cpp cleaner for me, and I'll show you that later. Let me make this using declarations header file first. So I'm going to go back to my GitHub and go to this main file. Alright, so I have a using declarations.h. And this is all that's in there, pretty much for now. And that's Electric Egghead now. But that I used to be called Mass Gaming. Then I changed my game studio's name. Alright, so let me pull that over, dock it to the right, dock this to the left. Then I'm just gonna, I'm not gonna copy and paste the code, I'm gonna write it out again to get that repetition. So define string, standard string. And I'll show you why I'm doing this later. Define cout standard cout. Define cin standard cin. Define indel standard indel. And then this one I'm not sure I have to define, but I'm going to define it anyway because I think I have to define it, but I will check this later. Alright, so then I add a get line. Alright, so all my using declarations.h header file does is it defines these application error. Okay. Oh, and it crashed. Alright. I haven't had a crash yet, actually, funnily enough. What's happening? Oh no. Alright, let's see. I'll just be 4 more minutes with this video, and then I'm gonna upload it, and then I'm going to work on it some more. Alright, so let's see. Wait for that to happen. So now what you're seeing on my desktop is a picture of the main image for AWOL effects. And so it's I just compiled a couple of images from Pixabay together, combined them together, faded them out a little bit, and then I created this AWOL effects image. Alright. And later on, at some point, I'll tell you what AWOL effects is about, but not right now. Okay, so shut down, restore this file. Okay. Alright, let's give that a second while that opens back up. I didn't even get a crash report, did I? Or like report it to Microsoft Visual Studio? I don't know what's going on. Anyway, okay, so let me open this up, and here's all my stuff. Source files, header files, there we go. So, I opened the wrong thing. That's okay. So I just double left click this one to open it up in the visual editor. And that'll be just a second. And then I would explain the using declarations.h file that I put in my files. And then I will just end this video. So yeah, it's actually really cool. If you just push these little arrows, you can see what's inside of this actual folder. Alright, so let me double left click that. Okay, so what I did was I defined okay, so let me just go back. So one convention in C++ is the using namespace standard semicolon, STD or standard. So what this does is this says you would put this at the beginning of your. Actually, let me open up the CPP file first, and I'll show you something. So hashtag include. Let me write a little bit of code first, actually. It's kind of hard to explain without writing a bit of code first. And again, Visual Studio is really great at helping you out. So int main. Okay, so I have the basics of a program, and I just put cout. So, alright, so there's a convention in C++ with using namespace. Oh, please stop it. std. Alright, so this makes it so instead of writing standard cout all the time, or standard, well, let me pause, hold up just a minute. Let me slow down. Alright, so let's say I comment this out so the compiler can't see this part and the compiler doesn't use this part. This is a comment which comments things out. So you can just leave notes and things like that. So now this file right here, is not included in my main.cpp file. Alright, so what happens is if I now put just cout, and I get rid of this, I'll get an error message. And this will say, oh, you identifier cout is undefined. So that means that, and you get this error message when you don't put the namespace, the standard cout. So now it'll work with the standard cout. But to save yourself all that trouble of having to constantly write std : one thing I learned was using namespace std, and that'll make it so you can just erase this part and it'll still work. So the using namespace std tells your compiler that any function or any event that needs to start that comes from the standard library, which is a collection of standard code used to help programmers create applications faster, provided by Microsoft. When you say using namespace standard, you can then just write cout. But I read that may not be the best practice, so I created, because this standard can be confused sometimes with other namespaces that you might create. So let's say you have like 50 files and there's a huge program, and you may just be adding some confusion. So I don't use that at all. So what I do is I create a using declarations.h header file, and then I include it in my main.cpp. So what I do is, instead of doing the using namespace std : I define here we go. I define a new I define a replacement for the standard : cout. So what I said was #define cout for standard cout. So standard cout is replaced with cout. That way I can write cout and it'll still work properly, because I have replaced it with just regular cout and all the others that I'm going to be using in my program, and I don't want to keep writing standard this and standard that. I mean, it's a lot of keystrokes, and you can only do so much. So that's how that works. Alright, so one thing that you'll see is there's a difference between these includes. You have #include, so that's include a certain collection of files or libraries. So the ones with the less than and greater than sign are standard libraries. These come from Microsoft and all the extremely great programmers, things like that. These are entire huge libraries to help make writing code easier for developers like me and you. So, but then when you create your own header file, there's a different syntax for including it in your program, in your main.cpp. So you do #include, quotation mark, and then using declarations.h, and then quotation mark. And so this is my own custom header file, and so I have to include it differently within the main.cpp. So that's what that is. Alright, so an IO stream is a library that helps you print stuff and to print input and and take in input. And then string is to help you work with strings, where you can, like this for instance, with this right here is a string. It's just you printing something or something like that. Okay, so that's the basics of this. And as I said, I'm just going to explain the using declarations.h. I don't know if it's best practice or whatever, but I think it makes my code look cleaner rather than putting all these defines into my main.cpp and taking up a lot of line numbers. So that's the basics of how I'm going to start this video. Again, I'm working on an app, your Tricky Words Helper. It's my first application. Hoping to make an Android and iOS app to put on the stores. And yes, I'm just getting started with real world projects. I'm gonna make a lot of mistakes, gonna get a lot of things right, gonna get more things wrong. I'm gonna learn a lot of error messages and what they mean. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell if you want notifications of new videos, and I hope you are having a great day, and hope you have a better day if you're not having a great day. So this is Ashleigh Bonner, founder of Electric Egghead. Later.